My name is Isabella. I am 31 years old. Last month I got married. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I planned everything. The dress, the flowers, the guests. It was my dream wedding, and I didn't want anything to go wrong. My husband's name is Mark. He is kind. He is loving. I waited a long time to find someone like him. But Mark was already a father. He has a daughter. Her name is Eva. She is 5 years old. She has big blue eyes and soft brown hair. She is a sweet girl, but I didn't feel close to her. She is not my child. She is his child. I met Mark 3 years ago. He was still healing from his divorce. Eva was just 2 then. She stayed with him every weekend. At first, I didn't know what to do. I tried to be nice. I bought her toys. I smiled at her. But she always ran to her dad. She cried when he left the room. She wanted all his time. I started to feel jealous. I didn't say it out loud, but it was there. I wanted to feel special too. I wanted to be number 1 in his life. When Mark asked me to marry him, I said yes. I was happy, but I had one wish inside my heart. I wanted the wedding day to be just about us. Just Mark and me. Not Eva. Not anyone else. I know it sounds selfish, but that is how I felt. I didn't want to share my day. I didn't want Eva in the wedding photos. I didn't want her in the center. I didn't want her to stand with us. I wanted the photos to show a couple in love, not a full family, just a bride and groom. I did not tell Mark. I was scared he would say no. So I planned everything quietly. I picked my dress. I picked the music. I picked the colors. I also spoke to the photographer. I told him, "Please take pictures of me and Mark only. No kids. No family. Just us." The wedding day came. The sky was blue. The sun was warm. The flowers looked perfect. Mark looked very happy. He held my hand and said, "You look beautiful." I smiled. I felt like a princess. Then I saw Eva. She wore a small white dress. Her hair had little flowers. She looked like a tiny angel. She ran to me. She held a pink flower. "Can I be in the pictures too?" she asked. Her eyes were big and full of hope. But I did not smile. I did not feel happy. I bent down and said, "Not now, Eva. These pictures are just for me and your dad." She looked at me for a moment. Her face changed. Her smile was gone. "But I want to stand with Daddy," she whispered. I stood up. "Maybe later, okay? Go sit with Grandma now." She walked away slowly. Her head was down. She did not run. She did not smile. The photographer called us. Mark and I stood under the trees. He kissed my hand. We laughed. I felt happy. I felt proud. I thought, this is my day. This is my moment. The photographer took many pictures. I did not think about Eva again. After the pictures, we had dinner. There was cake. There was music. People were dancing. Eva stayed quiet. She sat with Mark's mother. She ate only a little. She did not talk much. Mark looked at her and asked me, "Did Eva take any pictures with us?" I said, "No, she didn't." He looked surprised. "She wanted one. She told me before." I said, "It was just a couple shoot. She's fine." He didn't speak after that. He just looked at her again. That night we went home. I felt tired but happy. I looked at the wedding pictures on my phone. I looked beautiful. Mark looked happy. But something was missing. Eva was not in any picture. Not even in the background. The next day, my friend asked, "Where is your stepdaughter in the photos?" I said, "It was our moment. Just me and Mark." She sent a small face emoji. She didn't say more, but I felt strange. Later that week, I tried to talk to Eva. "Hi, sweetie," I said. "Want to draw with me?" She shook her head. "No," she said. "I want Daddy." She looked at me but did not smile. Her eyes were cold. Not sad. Just quiet. That night I sat in bed. Mark was reading. I said, "Eva is not the same." He put his book down. "She feels left out," he said. I looked at him. "She is a child. She will forget." Mark looked at the wall. "Maybe, but not today." He turned off the light. I could not sleep. I kept thinking about Eva. She was only 5. She wanted one picture and one small moment. And I said no. I made her feel like a guest at our wedding. I made her feel like she didn't belong. And now she was pulling away from me. The next morning, she didn't say good morning. She sat at the table and waited for her dad. She didn't look at me. She didn't speak to me. She just ate her cereal in silence. Mark noticed. He didn't say anything, but his eyes looked sad. Days passed. Nothing changed. I tried again. I gave Eva a toy. She took it, but she didn't say thank you. I asked if she wanted to play. She said no. I asked if she wanted to bake cookies. She said, "With Daddy only." Each time, my heart hurt more. I thought about the wedding again and again. I remembered her little voice. I remembered her sad face. I thought about that photo I didn't let her take. I thought it was just one photo, but maybe it was more. Maybe it was a moment she needed, a moment to feel like family. And I took it away. Now, I was not sure what to do. I looked at our wedding pictures again. They were perfect, but they were only about me. They didn't show the truth. They didn't show the people we love. They didn't show a real family. Only a pretty picture. Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. 1 week after the wedding, Eva still did not talk to me. I said hello to her. She did not answer. I tried to play with her. She turned away. She only wanted Mark. She followed him everywhere. She held his hand all the time. She never smiled at me. I started to feel bad inside. I did not know what to do. One evening, Mark and I sat on the couch. Eva was playing in her room. I looked at him and said, "Do you think Eva is angry with me?" Mark looked at me for a moment. He looked tired. "She is not angry," he said, "but she is sad. She wanted to feel part of the wedding, and now she feels like she is not part of us." I looked down at my hands. I did not say anything. I felt a small pain in my chest. I did not want to hurt Eva, but maybe I did. Later that night, I looked at the wedding pictures again. I saw me and Mark smiling. I saw the flowers, the lights, the cake. I looked so happy, but I didn't feel happy now. I felt empty. I looked at all the photos and saw no family, just two people with no child beside them, no small hand, no soft face. Eva was not there, and I started to ask myself, why? The next morning, I packed Eva's school lunch. I made her a sandwich and put it in her pink box. I also wrote a short note on paper. It said, "I hope you have a fun day. Love, Isabella." I folded the note and put it in the box. I gave the box to Mark. "Please give this to her teacher," I said. He looked at me. He nodded and said, "Okay." That evening, I was waiting. I was nervous. I watched Eva when she came home. She did not say anything. She sat at the table and started to eat. I looked at Mark. He looked back at me. I asked him, "Did she read the note?" He said, "Yes, she read it." But she didn't say much. I smiled a little. At least she saw it. That was something. A small step. The next day was Sunday. Mark had work. He asked me, "Can you stay with Eva today?" I said yes. I wanted to spend time with her. I wanted to try again. After he left, I made some breakfast. Eva came to the table. She ate but did not talk. I asked her, "Do you want some juice?" She said nothing. I brought her some juice anyway. She took the cup and said, "Thank you." That was the first word she said to me in days. My heart felt warm. I said, "You're welcome." After breakfast, I asked her, "Do you want to go to the park?" She looked at me and then at the door. "Okay," she said. We both got ready. She wore her pink jacket. I held her hand. It was small and soft. We walked to the park. She did not talk much, but she stayed close to me. I pushed her on the swing. She smiled once. It was small, but it was real. I smiled too. We stayed at the park for 1 hour. We did not say much, but we were together. That was enough. When we came home, Eva went to her room. She looked calm. Later, Mark came home. He asked, "How was the day?" I said, "It was good." Eva looked at him and said, "We went to the park." Her voice was soft. Mark smiled. He looked at me. I smiled too. The next day, I did something new. I printed one photo. It was a photo of Eva at the park. She was on the swing. She was smiling. I put the photo in a small frame. I placed it in the living room on the shelf. When Eva saw the picture, she stopped. She looked at it for a long time. Then she looked at me. She said, "I like that picture." I said, "Me too." I wanted to say more, but I didn't. That was enough for now. A few days later, Eva came to the kitchen. I was making cookies. She watched me for a minute. Then she asked, "Can I help?" I said, "Of course." She rolled the dough. She used the cookie cutter. We made hearts, stars, and bears. She smiled. She laughed. It was like the wall between us was starting to fall. I looked at her and said, "Thank you for helping me." She said, "I like cookies." I said, "Me too." That evening, she gave one cookie to Mark. "I made this with Isabella," she said. Mark looked happy. I felt happy too. We were sitting at the table, all three of us. It felt simple. It felt right. The next night, we sat on the couch and watched a cartoon. Eva sat between me and Mark. Then she moved and sat on my lap. I did not move. I did not speak. I just held her. She looked up at me and said, "Can I be in the next pictures?" My eyes filled with tears. I hugged her close. "Yes, sweetheart," I said. "You will be in all of them." That night when she went to bed, I sat with Mark. I told him everything. I told him why I said no that day. I told him about the pictures, about my feelings, about the moment I said no to her. He listened. He held my hand. "You made a mistake," he said, "but you are trying to fix it, and that means a lot." I looked at the wedding album one more time. I did not feel proud now. I felt sorry, but I also felt hope. Because maybe next time, things would be better, not just for me, but for Eva, for Mark, for our family, the real one. Weeks passed. Things at home felt better. Eva spoke to me again. She smiled more. She asked for help with her shoes. She gave me drawings from school. They were small things, but they meant so much to me. I was careful with my words. I listened more. I stopped thinking only about myself. I started thinking about her too. One evening, Eva showed me a picture. She had drawn our family. There were 3 people, a man, a woman, and a small girl. They were all holding hands. She pointed to the woman. "That's you," she said. I looked at the picture. My eyes became wet. "Thank you," I said. She smiled and ran to her room. I sat on the couch and stared at the drawing. I felt something strong in my heart. I wanted to be the woman in that picture, not just in her art, but in her real life. The next day, I went to a photo shop. I brought the park picture with me. I asked them to make a bigger copy. I also brought one of our wedding photos. I put both in new frames. At home, I placed them side by side. One photo was just me and Mark. The other was Eva alone. Now they were together, not in one photo, but side by side. It felt better this way. That evening, Eva saw the new frames. She smiled. "That's me at the park," she said. I said, "Yes." "And you look very happy." She nodded. I was happy. Then she looked at the wedding photo. She was quiet for a moment. "Maybe next time I can be in that one too," she said. I knelt beside her. "I wish I could go back," I said. "I would change it. I would put you right in the middle." She looked up at me. "It's okay," she said. "I'm in the next one." I wanted to do something special. Something just for Eva. I asked Mark, "Can we plan a photo day?" "Just us and Eva. No big event. Just fun." Mark said, "That's a nice idea." We picked a sunny Saturday. We dressed in simple clothes. We took her to the park, the same one from before. She wore a yellow dress. I wore soft blue. Mark wore a white shirt. We walked, we laughed, we took pictures. This time, she stood between us. We held her hands. She smiled in every picture. I held her when she got tired. Mark lifted her on his shoulders. We sat on the grass. We shared a sandwich. The photographer was kind. She said, "You look like a family." I smiled. We are a family. The photos were ready in 1 week. They were beautiful. Eva looked so happy. Mark looked calm. I looked real. Not like a bride, but like a mother. A woman who had learned something. A woman who had grown. I picked my favorite photo. It showed Eva kissing my cheek. I put it in a new frame. This time, I placed it in the center of the living room. Not to the side. Not in the corner. Right in the middle. Mark saw it first. He smiled. "That's a good choice," he said. Later, Eva saw it too. She ran to me. She hugged me. "I like that picture," she said. "Me too," I said. I kissed her forehead. My heart was full. I knew I had made a mistake before, but now I was trying to do better, and she saw that. A few days later, Eva's teacher called. She said, "Eva talks about you a lot now. She says you are her second mom." I held the phone to my ear. My hands were shaking. "Thank you," I said. "That means so much." After the call, I sat in my room. I cried, not because I was sad, but because I was thankful. I looked at our home, the toys on the floor, the shoes near the door, the photos on the wall. It was not just my place now. It was our home. I was not just a wife. I was also something more. Maybe not her real mother, but something close. Something that mattered. One evening, Mark asked me, "Do you still wish the wedding was just for us?" I looked at him. I thought for a second. Then I said, "No. I wish I had made space for her. I thought it was just my day, but I was wrong. It should have been our day. All three of us." Mark didn't speak. He just took my hand and smiled. That was enough. Now, when I see a bride, I don't only see her dress. I look around. I look for the small faces, the quiet ones in the corner. I hope they are not left out. I hope they feel seen. I hope they feel loved. Because I learned something. A wedding is not just a start for two people. It can also be the start of something bigger. The start of a new family. A real one. A strong one. A kind one. And now, I don't want perfect photos. I want true ones. Photos with messy hair. With chocolate on the mouth, with small hands reaching up, with laughter and hugs. Those are the pictures that matter, because they show who we really are, a family. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon. My name is Alina. I am 30 years old. I live in Nampa. Nampa is in Canyon County, Idaho, in the United States. It is a quiet town with many small houses and kind people. I work in a small bakery near the park. I make bread, cookies, and cakes. I love my job. I love simple things. I also love my husband. His name is David. He is not like other men. He is quiet. He is gentle. He is always calm. Some people do not understand him. Some people laugh at him. But to me, he is the best man in the world. He is a true gentleman. I met David 5 years ago. It was a rainy day. I was walking home from work. I did not have an umbrella. My clothes were wet. My shoes were cold. I wanted to go inside a warm place. I saw a small bookstore. I went inside. The store was warm and smelled like paper and tea. David was there. He was behind the counter. He looked at me and smiled. He said, "Cold day, isn't it?" I said, "Yes, very cold." He gave me a small towel. He made me a cup of tea. He said, "You can sit here and rest. I said, "Thank you." That was the first time I met him. After that day, I went to the bookstore many times. Sometimes I bought books. Sometimes I only sat and read. David always said hello. He always smiled. He did not talk too much. But when he spoke, his voice was soft and kind. He told me he liked poetry. He liked quiet music. He liked to walk in the park. He liked to help people. He did not care about money or big things. He cared about feelings, about nature, and about good hearts. Many people in town did not understand David. They said he was strange. They said he was too quiet. They said he was not strong. Some people said, "He is not a real man." But I saw something different. I saw a man who listened, a man who cared, a man who never shouted, a man who gave his time to others. One day, he asked me if I wanted to have coffee. I said yes. We sat in the park and talked for hours. He told me about his life. His parents died when he was young. He lived alone. He owned the bookstore. He did not have much money, but he was happy. I liked him more and more. After 6 months, he asked me to marry him. He did not have a ring. He did not get on one knee. He just held my hands and said, "I want to take care of your heart." I cried. I said yes. I was very happy. But my parents were not happy. My mother said, "What kind of man is this?" My father said, "He does not have a real job. He is poor. He is too soft. He cannot protect you." I tried to explain. I said, "He is kind. He is good to me. I feel safe with him." But they did not listen. They said I was making a mistake. We had a small wedding. Only 5 people came. My parents did not come. My best friend was there. One old teacher from my school was there. David's neighbor came. We got married in a small garden. The weather was nice. The sky was blue. The flowers were red and white. It was a simple day, but it was full of love. That night I cried a little. I was sad my parents were not there. David held me in his arms. He said, "I am here. I will always be here." I felt warm inside. I knew I made the right choice. After the wedding, we moved into his small apartment. It was upstairs, above the bookstore. It was not big. It had 1 bedroom, 1 kitchen, 1 bathroom, and a small living room. But it was clean. It was warm. It was full of books. David made tea every morning. He said good morning with a smile. Every evening, he asked me about my day. He listened to every word. He never looked at his phone. He never talked about himself too much. He only wanted to know how I felt. I told him about the bakery. I told him about customers. I told him about my dreams. He always listened. But people still said bad things. One day my cousin came to visit. She looked at David and said, "This is your husband?" I said, "Yes." Later she said, "He is too quiet, too soft." You need someone stronger. I said, He is strong. He is strong in a good way. She laughed. She did not understand. One evening, we went to a dinner party at a friend's house. The house was big. The people there had big jobs. They were doctors, lawyers, and engineers. David sat next to me. He did not talk much. One man asked him, "What do you do?" David said, "I run a small bookstore." The man laughed. "Do people still read books?" Everyone laughed. David smiled. He did not say anything. He held my hand under the table. I looked at him and I felt proud. When we got home, I asked him, "Why did you not say anything back?" He said, "I do not need to fight. I know who I am." I hugged him. I was proud of him. He was quiet, but he was strong. Then I got sick. It started with a fever. Then my head hurt. Then my back hurt. I stayed in bed for many days. The doctor said I had the flu. I had no energy. I could not cook. I could not clean. I could not go to work. David took care of everything. He cooked for me. He made tea. He cleaned the house. He read to me. He stayed up at night when I could not sleep. He gave me medicine. He put a cold towel on my head. One night, I woke up and saw him sleeping in a chair next to my bed. He looked so tired. I touched his hand and said, "Thank you." He smiled and said, "I love you." I cried. I was so thankful. When I got better, my parents came to visit. They looked around the small apartment. My mother said, "You live here." My father said, "You could have done better." I did not say anything. David brought them tea. He said, "Please, sit down." They did not smile. They did not drink the tea. That night after they left, I saw pain in David's eyes. But he said nothing. He only asked me, "Are you okay?" I said yes. But I knew something had to change. I wanted the world to see the man I saw. I wanted them to know his heart. I wanted them to see my husband for who he truly was. A quiet, gentle, kind man. A real gentleman. Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. After my parents visited, things felt different. I still loved David, and he still loved me. But their words stayed in my mind. I started to think too much. Was I wrong? Did I choose the wrong life? My friends had big houses and cars. Some of them went on holidays and bought new things. I had none of that, but I had peace. I had love. I had a man who smiled at me every morning. Still, I felt sad when people looked down on him. At the bakery, my coworker Anna asked me about David. I told her he was good to me. She smiled and said, "That's nice, but don't you want more?" I asked, "More of what?" She said, "More money, a better home, a man with goals." Her words hurt me, but I did not show it. I only said, "I have what I need." When I walked home, I cried. I knew David did not have much, but he gave me love. He gave me time. He gave me respect. That was more than what many women had. One evening, David came home with a small box. He said, "This is for you." I opened it. It was a pen, a simple black pen. I looked at him. "Why a pen?" I asked. He said, "You always write small notes. I thought you would like it." I smiled. It was not expensive, but it showed he knew me. He saw the small things. I wrote a note that night. "Thank you for loving me in your quiet way." I left the note next to his pillow. The next day, something happened at the bookstore. David helped an old man who could not see well. The man dropped his books. David picked them up and walked him home. A woman saw this and posted about it online. She wrote, "This man is kind. He helped my father and asked for nothing." Many people saw the post. Some people came to the store just to meet David. They said, "We read about you. You are a good man." David smiled but said very little. He did not care about attention. He just liked to help. The next week, a man from the local paper came. He said, "We want to write a story about you." David said, "Why?" The man said, "Because people need to read about good people." I was there. I said, "Please do it, David. Maybe this will help others see the real you." David said yes, only because I asked. The story came out 2 days later. The title was "The Gentleman Who Runs a Bookstore." It talked about his life, how he lost his parents, how he helped others, how he lived simply but kindly. The writer said, "He is the kind of man the world needs." When I read it, I cried. I was so proud of him. My parents saw the article. My mother called. She said, "We read the story. We did not know all this." I said, "You never asked." She said, "We want to visit again." I told David. He only said, "If that makes you happy." They came the next day. My father shook David's hand. My mother smiled at him. She said, "We brought you some cake." David said thank you and made tea. This time, they drank the tea. They asked him about books. He told them about his favorite stories. He spoke slowly and clearly. My parents listened. They looked at him with different eyes. I felt warm inside. I held David's hand under the table. He looked at me and smiled. After they left, I asked, "How do you feel?" He said, "Better. I think they are trying." I said, "Yes. It means a lot to me." That night we walked to the park. The air was cool. The stars were out. I said, "Thank you for not giving up," he said. "Love is not about giving up. It's about staying, even when it's hard." I stopped walking. I looked at him. I kissed his cheek. I said, "I love you." He said, "I love you too." A few weeks later, David got sick. It was just a cold at first, but then it got worse. He had a high fever. He could not eat much. He slept a lot. I took care of him like he took care of me. I cooked soup. I gave him medicine. I stayed beside him. One night, he looked at me and said, "I'm sorry." I asked, "Why?" He said, "Because you deserve more. You work so hard. I give so little." I shook my head. I said, "You give me love. That is enough." He got better slowly. After 10 days, he could walk around. He opened the bookstore again. People asked about him. They said, "We missed you." Some brought flowers. Some brought food. One woman said, "You helped me last year. I will never forget that." David smiled. He said, "Thank you." When I saw that, I felt proud. The man people once laughed at was now the man people respected. One afternoon, a young boy came into the store. He had no money. He looked at a book about animals. David watched him. Then he walked over and said, "Do you like this book?" The boy said yes. David said, "You can take it." The boy smiled wide. "For free?" he asked. David said, "Yes. Just read it well." The boy ran out, happy. I walked over to David. I said, "That was kind." He said, "Books should be shared, not kept away." That evening, I made dinner. We sat on the floor because we did not have a big table. We ate rice and vegetables. David said, "I like this life." I said, "Me too." He said, "Even when it's small?" I said, "Even then. Especially then." We did not have much. We did not have gold or big cars. But we had love, peace, and kindness. And I knew something clearly that day. The world may not always understand a quiet man, but I did. I understood him deeply, and I would stand beside him no matter what. One morning, I woke up early. The sun was not up yet. The room was quiet. David was still asleep beside me. I looked at his face. He looked so calm. I touched his hand and smiled. I thought, this is my life. It is not rich. It is not full of big things. But it is good. It is full of love. After some time, I got up and made tea. I sat near the window. I could see the small trees outside. A little bird came and sat on the windowsill. It sang a soft song. I listened and felt at peace. That day at the bakery, I had a long shift. My boss asked me to stay 2 hours more. I was tired, but I said yes. David always worked long hours too, so I wanted to help. When I got home, he had made dinner. It was a simple soup with bread. He had also cleaned the kitchen. He smiled and said, "You must be tired. Sit down." I sat down and looked at him. He brought me food. I said, "Thank you. You always take care of me." He said, "Because I love you." After dinner, we talked about the future. I said, "Do you ever want to move to a bigger house?" He said, "Maybe, but only if you want to." I said, "I like this place, but maybe one day, if we have children, we will need more space." He looked at me. He said, "You want children?" I said, "Yes, one day." He smiled and said, "Then I will read books to them every night." I laughed and said, "And I will bake them cookies." Weeks passed. Our life was simple and happy. My parents visited more often. My mother brought fresh fruit. My father helped David fix a broken chair. One day my father said, "He may be quiet, but he is a good man." I smiled and said, "Yes, he is the best." My mother said, "We were wrong before." I said, "It's okay. I know you only wanted the best for me." That day, I saw David sitting with my father. They were drinking tea and talking about books. I felt warm in my heart. They finally saw what I saw. One evening, it started to rain. David and I sat near the window and watched the drops fall. I said, "Do you remember the first time we met?" He said, "Yes. You walked into the bookstore. You were wet and cold." I said, "And you gave me tea." He said, "You looked tired, but your eyes were kind." I laughed and said, "I was trying to dry my hair with a small towel." He laughed too. Then he said, "That was the best day of my life." I looked at him and said, "Mine too." Sometime later, the landlord came. He said the building was for sale. The bookstore and our home were part of it. He said we had to move in 2 months. I felt scared. Where would we go? How would we move the books? David said, "Don't worry. We will find a way." I trusted him. We looked for new places every day. Some were too small. Some were too far. Some were too expensive. Then one day, a woman came to the bookstore. She said, "I have a shop that is empty. You can rent it for a small price. I read about you. I want to help." David said, "Thank you" again and again. We moved 2 weeks later. The new shop was on a quiet street. It had big windows and wooden floors. We put the books on shelves. We placed a small table near the door. I baked cookies for the first day. People came, some old friends, some new people. They said, "We are happy you are still here." One girl said, "This is my favorite place." David smiled. He said, "Books are like friends. They wait for you. They never shout. We also moved into a new apartment. It was small but clean. It had 2 bedrooms. I was happy because we could use the extra room one day for a baby. David said, "It will be the library until then." I laughed and said, "Okay." Then something wonderful happened. I found out I was pregnant. I cried. David held me and said, "Thank you." I said, "For what?" He said, "For giving me a family." The next 9 months were not easy. I felt tired. I felt sick. But David helped with everything. He read baby books. He made me tea every morning. He put pillows behind my back. He cleaned the house. He talked to my belly and said, "Hello, little one." One night I had strong pain. David took me to the hospital. After many hours, our baby came. It was a girl. She had soft black hair and big brown eyes. We named her Grace. David held her in his arms. He cried. I had never seen him cry before. He said, "You are perfect." When we went home, he made a sign that said, "Welcome, Grace." He put it near the door. Life changed after Grace came. We slept less. We worked more. But we were happy. David sang to her every night. He held her when she cried. He kissed her small hands. One day, I saw him sitting in the chair, Grace asleep on his chest. He was tired, but smiling. I thought, this is love. This is a real man. Not loud, not rich, but full of love. Now Grace is 3. She loves books. She always sits in her father's lap and says, "Read, Papa." David reads with a soft voice. She listens like the world is quiet. I watch them and feel proud. I remember all the times people said he was not enough. I remember when my parents did not come to the wedding, but now they visit every week. They bring toys and cookies. They laugh with David. They hug Grace. Things are different now. People still ask me, is he still running that small bookstore? I say, yes, and it is full of joy. They ask, don't you want more? I say, I already have more. I have peace. I have love. I have a true gentleman. I look at my life now and feel full, not full of things, full of meaning. David was never loud. He never needed to be. His love was enough. His heart was enough. His kindness was enough. And every day, I thank life for giving him to me